Hello and welcome to another knitting pod. I am Lena and I'm coming to you from Boulder, Colorado. Whether you are a returning viewer or you are new here, I am so glad you are here. We are going to talk about fiber and knitting and all the joy that comes along with it. If you're up for that, let's hang out. First quick thing I wanted to say was thank you so much for all your love and well wishes after my last podcast where I talked to you guys about the accident I had on vacation and the resulting black eyes and concussion. I am definitely improving, and I can't tell you how much all your kind words and thoughts and stories of your own very similar experiences, how much they all meant to me. I felt very held and seen and loved. And for that, I really, from the bottom of my heart, I send you my gratitude. I am really doing a lot better. As you can see, my face is clearing a lot. I still have the remnants of one more bit of the black eye, and you can still see the bump on my head is not completely gone, but I feel like I'm improving by leaps and bounds. Anyway, I don't want to bore you if that is really not something you need to hear about. We can chat about it at the end a little bit more, okay? Let's jump into knitting because that is what you're here for. Here you can see I have my finished object of this week. This is the Painting Bricks shawl by the brilliant Stephen West. I cast this on at the beginning of June and I finished it on July 3rd. I have to say the only reason I was able to finish a Stephen West fingering weight schlanket was because I was completely sidelined from life, and thank goodness I could knit while I had this concussion, but knit I did because I have just powered through it. Let me show you this way. I've woven in most of the ends, but some of them you'll still see. I tell you what, I would not do this shawl if it weren't for the weave and Steven technique of weaving your ends in as you go. If you do decide to knit this, please take those extra few minutes every time you change a color to weave in your ends as you go, because it took me all of 2 minutes to snip the tails, and then there are a couple of spots where I needed to weave the ends in a little more to be comfortable, but she is big and she is beautiful, y'all. I'm trying to see if you can see the whole thing here. You can see the gorgeous border and the bricks pattern. I wanted to make this kind of like a Pride Month shawl, which was so fun because I knit it during the month of June, which is Pride, and I think it turned out so beautifully. I'll let you see it up close a little bit. Hopefully that's a good view. You can see how gorgeous the color changes are. It was just such a joy. I can't even tell you what a joy it was to watch these colors unfold and interplay. I'll show you the other side because I think it's actually quite gorgeous. Please excuse some of the ends, but you can really see the color progression also on this side. And I think it is just as gorgeous, truly. I really like how, there's some bolder sections, and then I really like this yellow, lavender, pink section that's more muted. I think it just is so much fun. And I'm telling you, it's so crazy. This shawl does not take a lot of yarn for those bricks. I think by the longest rows, you're using about 15 grams. And I only know that thanks to the generous Ravelry post of Linda Bjork Erikstotter. She sent me a link to her project page because she had weighed out all her rows so that you know if you have enough yarn or not, which the act of generosity is huge because there were a few rows towards the end where I had like 12 grams instead of 15, and I'm glad I didn't risk it because, you just want to make each brick nice and beautiful. So these end rows are definitely, they take about 15 grams by the end, but I could knit like 10 more shawls. I have so much of these pops of color left. I will not be knitting 10 more shawls, but I love this painting brick, the painting honeycomb. He has a whole painting series. There's a painting rainbows that's really fun. So I just think you can't go wrong. Like, what is more glorious than just being wrapped up in this giant rainbow? And I absolutely love a fingering weight shawl. Once you block it, it just feels like as light as air, and it just feels like like a breeze, like being wrapped up in a breeze of fiber. I don't know if that makes sense. This creamy white color is I think it's High Country Wool. I can't remember. I think that's the brand. I know the base is called Flock, and this was their natural colorway, and I really enjoyed knitting with it. I think it's a perfect neutral creamy white to frame all these gorgeous pops. It doesn't compete. You know, if you had something speckled at even a little bit, I think it would compete with the gorgeous colors that are going on. So you've heard me talk about this for the last month, so I don't need to repeat myself. If you want more, you can go back to the previous episodes. But I recommend this pattern 10 out of 10. I mean, for a shawl this large, I didn't get bored at all. It just has such a lovely rhythm. The increases are completely intuitive once you get the swing of them. I did find the first rows of the border to be a little trickier because I couldn't quite figure out the rhyme or reason. It took me a whole repeat, a whole brick repeat to figure that out. But once I did, it just flew off the needles. Like I said, I did knit a lot, but it was an absolute joy. I love it so much. I did not take the option to do the I-cord edge though, and I honestly don't know that it would have added anything. I think just a regular bind off looks just as nice. I'm sure an I-cord edging would be even nicer, but I didn't want to do like 800 stitches. I was ready to have it off the needles and to share it with you guys. So I love it so much. It's July 6th here. I live in Boulder, Colorado, like I said, and it has been so chilly. It's glorious. Like the last 2 mornings, I have had to grab my heaviest shawl on top of a sweatshirt in order to sit outside while my daughter has swim. So I am just thrilled. It's still deeply shawl weather here. You know, I would choose winter and fall all year long if I could. Summer is 100% my least favorite season. So I'm pretty thrilled that it's still cool. One of you had said you were in South Africa and going to Cowgirl Blues and that it was cold, and I was just feeling so jealous of that, but we got a little nip of cold, so I'm actually quite happy myself. So anyway, that is all. I'm trying to see if I wanted to say anything else. I don't think so. This is going to be a much beloved shawl for me, and I bet it gets a lot of compliments. It's one of those really show-stopping, eye-catching pieces, which, does Stephen West do anything else? No, he does not. So what's next on my needles? Well, I anticipated, as I had told you, casting on the striped S-Jan. We established that I was saying it like a big clunky Texan, and that was incorrect. I have found that I need to stay extra hydrated these days, so and we're gonna try to keep on that, even this hour we're spending together. Anyway, I was going to cast on the striped S-Jan. I had my yarns, the beautiful yarns I showed you guys last time, but as I approached the finish of this, I felt like I needed a break from working with fingering weight yarn. And I wonder if you guys ever feel that, you know, after you're done with a big project with one type of yarn. do you crave something very different from the kind of yarn you're working with? And I truly find that to be the case 99% of the time. Like before, the project I cast off that I finished right before I cast this on was The Girl's Best Friend by Isabel Kramer. And it was in very muted fall toned colors. And after finishing that, I wanted to work with bright bursts of colors. And now that I finished this, I'm craving something like woolly and thick and much heavier. And as the universe does, it just points you in the right direction sometimes. My daughter is very into needle felting, which is just, I love it. She lights up when she needle felts or when she is diving into that passion. And so I had signed her up at my local yarn shop for a class. And I was looking for a bag for her to put all her needle felting supplies in. And I have this gorgeous bag that I'd gotten last year at Wool and Folk by Renninger Wool Company. It has this beautiful drawing of a sheep on it, one of their sheep, Pearl. But anyway, I was like, this is the perfect bag for her because it's really big. So I was emptying it out, and what I had kept in that bag was all that gorgeous 100% alpaca fiber that I had bought at our local alpaca festival. I think it was in the winter, a couple months ago, 6 months ago, maybe even more. And so I emptied it out and I just laid it right here where I'm sitting, and I was knitting while she was at the felting class. And I just was like, that's what I want to work with. And what I had initially decided to do with that yarn was make the Northwood sweater by Jessie Maid of Jessie Maid Designs, which is a beautiful V-neck sweater with stripes. But as I was looking at it and as I was finishing this, I just kept thinking to myself, I know in my heart that all that 100% alpaca is going to make a sweater that ends up being disappointing. I have worked with 100% alpaca before. It is a very drapey fabric. It stretches a lot. It does not hold shape the way wool does. So in my heart, I knew I would put all this effort into a sweater, and then it's not going to maintain its integrity, its structure, in the way wool would. And I just had a complete flash realization, like, I'm in this complete shawl phase. I need to make a shawl out of this, because what qualities do we look for in a shawl yarn? It's drape and softness, and just you want to feel swaddled in your shawl. That's what I'm looking for. So I just thought, oh my gosh, this is the perfect thing. I was resisting that because 6 months ago I was completely in a sweater phase. All I wanted to do was knit sweaters. So all that being backstory, the point is I started to dive into Ravelry, which is always just such a joy, right? Like when you're looking for something and you know it's just gonna hit you when you see it, and it's gonna be love at first sight. And I always have designers in my mind. I've got a whole backlog of favorites that I have on Ravelry, but one of my favorite designers for a long time was Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits, and I hadn't made anything by her in quite some time. So I just thought I'd take a gander, because I think she has a broad range of shawls that are really cool. I knew I didn't want to do brioche, just because, number one, I don't want to do brioche because it's double the knitting, and there's a place for that, but it just didn't feel like what I wanted to do. And also this really thick wool, let me just show you a ball of it. Here's one of the balls I had. This in brioche is just going to be so warm. So anyway, what I landed upon was a shawl by Andrea Mowry called The Golden Hour. And when I saw it, I just knew. And thankfully, it's a DK worsted weight yarn required for that shawl. And as you guys know, with shawls, you know, whether it's DK or worsted or, right, you know, you don't have to test gauge really. I certainly don't. If I feel like it's a nice fabric that I'm knitting, then I'm happy. And it just fit the yarn so perfectly. Her shawl, her samples, she used 3 colors, but I have 5 shades of this alpaca. I have this gorgeous oaky color, I guess. I've got this gorgeous other oatmeal. I would say this feels oatmeal-y. I wish you could reach through and feel this. It's literally like butter. It's unbelievable. I have this beautiful rose gold. I have a funny story to tell you about this. I have a more creamy white, and then there is another color that the ball is over there. But let me show you what I have so far. I cast this on 2 days ago or yesterday. I can't remember, but I can't put it down. I just cannot put it down. It is turning out already so beautifully. It's going to be a little bit challenging for me to show you, I think, but I love it because there's all these different sections with just different like techniques, I guess. It just keeps it moving so quickly. Like you're just so excited to get to the next section, and I just absolutely love it. So this first section was just kind of a plain stockinette. Then you have this eyelet separation between each section, which I think is absolutely gorgeous. Then you have this kind of stockinette with specks on top. It's all mosaic. There's no color work. So you're only carrying 1 yarn at a time. It's very easy. There's nothing intimidating about this. Then another eyelet stripe, then this really cool crosses. I decided to do a darker background because I want to do the very last section in this, and I thought if everything until then is on, like the background is light and the darker colors are the motifs, then this is gonna, if this is the border, it's gonna kind of almost stand out too much. So I wanted to do a darker color here, which I think actually worked out beautifully. I think these crosses on this darker gray look so nice. Then another speckled, and this reminds me of like a animal's coat. You know, like if an animal has specks, it just has this, they're very small. It's just 1 stitch. So it looks very organic. I'm obsessed. I cannot stop knitting this. It's so much fun so far. The one thing I will say is I feel like it's not going to be big enough for my liking. I think I am just such a trained Stephen West Schlanket gal that a less generous shawl feels stingy. Even though I'm a small person, it almost feels like armor. Like I just feel like so safe and cozy when I have a big shawl. So I think I have about 200 yards more than she requires. So I'm thinking after that last section or before the last section, I'm gonna add maybe just another repeat of the simple, the mosaic or whatever I feel like, depending on how much yarn I have left, just to make it a little bit bigger. As I was looking through the project pages, one of you, Jenny, who I absolutely adore, and we often message about random projects and things, I ran across her project page on Ravelry. So I asked her if she thought it was a little on the smaller side, and she said definitely not a Schlanket size. So yeah, I think I might add a section. I saw one person had added a pretty detailed mosaic section at the end of hers. I won't do that, I don't think, but I do think I'll try to make it a little bit on the bigger side. It has a beautiful picot border. I also think fringe would look really cool with this kind of fiber and this kind of pattern. This pattern reminds me so much of Telluride. Telluride is a mountain town in the southwest kind of corner of Colorado. And it's just very rustic and isolated and mountainous and very cowboy vibes there, cowboy rancher vibes. And I remember once we were there and we were staying at this gorgeous hotel called the Madeline, and they have this shop and they had all these pieces like this with these kind of motifs, and I was just, oh, they were so gorgeous. And I feel like this could be in that shop 100%. So I'm so excited to be making this shawl, which I have no other piece like it. It just feels like a really unique piece, and it's just been a joy. Like I said, I love that when you're knitting and you're in love with, like I was in love with this, the making and the finishing and the wearing, but I was so ready for a complete change of vibe. And knitting is just such, it's such a vast expanse of talent and options for us. And every designer brings their own aesthetic and experience. And my husband was like, we were walking the day I decided, like I was winding this yarn and stuff, and we were walking the dogs, and I just was like, oh, I love knitting. And he goes, I know, babe, you're just so funny. Like you get one shawl off the blocking mats and like you're already just like head first into your next project. Like, you know, you're so lit up when you're in that phase, in that mindset. And that's how I feel. Like, knitting just makes me feel like I'm doing what I was born to do. Anyway, I know you guys understand. That's why we have this incredible connection, because you guys get how much it means to us. Anyway, the funny thing I was going to tell you about this yarn, look how gorgeous this color is. It's this rose gold. This came from an alpaca named OMG. She's so cute. I told you about this like when I got it. I loved this. I met this incredible lady who runs her alpaca farm, and all this, talked to her forever, bought all this fiber, but you know, of course it came in skeins. So I was winding them into cakes, and of course, as it goes, like the first one went perfectly, and my son was eating breakfast and he was like, wow, that went better than usual. Because usually something goes wrong in the winding, something gets twisted, something, you know how it is. And of course, the next ball was this one. And I opened it and I put it on the Swift, and I snipped off the bits that are holding everything together. And all of a sudden, I snipped all these like ends fall out. And I'm like, huh, this is bizarre. I start winding it, and it turns out that rather than one big loop of yarn, it's like every 3 yards, it's broken. It's just all these separate strips of yarn. Needless to say, it was the biggest disappointment and aggravation and pain. I ended up having to wind it by hand. I started like tying them together with like ends big enough to wind in. And then the last bit, maybe the last 50 yards, maybe, I guess, was one big piece. It was absolutely bizarre. The rest of them were 99% intact. One of them had like part of it disconnected, but it was just the weirdest thing. And I just realized like this was not a commercial endeavor, right? But somebody spun that yarn, and some company or person wound it. Like, it just mystified me that you would sell that. And I don't think it was her, because she wasn't winding the yarn, but somebody did that. I have her number, but I didn't want to call. And it was like 6 months ago that I bought it, and it is what it is. I'm just grateful that out of 5 skeins, only one was like that. And you know, it's just a lesson. I share that not only because it's a funny story, but if you go to like Woolen Folk or Rhinebeck or whatever local yarn fest, maybe just kind of ask who spins it, or, just kind of maybe even see if you can unwind the skein because you can tell them the story. Like, you don't want to end up with spending $30 on a skein of yarn that ends up being a complete wreck. Luckily, honestly, it's such good luck that this pattern is all these disparate pieces where you are cutting your yarn anyway. I'm using that color for these specs. So, they're shorter runs anyway, and I'm just making it work. So anyway, that is that. I am just so relieved that I didn't go against my absolute 100% knowledge that this would not turn into the best sweater. Of course, you can still do it. I'm not saying you can't do it, and many of you might have done it and loved it, but I know for me, I don't want my sweater sleeves to keep growing and just gravity pulling it out of shape. So I think this shawl is going to be perfect, and I can't wait. It is undoubtedly cold girl summer for me, y'all. It is not hot girl summer. I'm doing this knit the coziest things in hopes of calling fall and winter in early this year. I'm sure there's no hope of that, but I really think you have to knit what's calling to you and what's bringing you joy rather than knitting to the season, because let me tell you, I told you guys 6 weeks ago that I was casting on the outline. Wait, what was it called? Open Edge Tee by Jessie Maid. And I am I finished the entire front. It's bottom up. I finished both shoulders, and now I'm doing the back panel, and I just cannot get myself to pick it up because I don't want to knit a t-shirt. It just doesn't feel right to me right now. I've knit tanks, I've knit bralettes, I've knit all that, but right now it's just, I shouldn't have forced myself to do that because now I don't want to finish it. I finished this entire thing and I can't seem to even pick that up. So I don't know. I'm honestly contemplating ripping it out because it's boring and I don't want to make it, but I'm so close to the end. I should probably just plow through. It would probably take me less than a week to finish it, but anyway, this is why you have to really want to knit what you're knitting. So if that's an alpaca worsted weight shawl in the middle of summer, then that's what it is. Okay, what else? Let me make sure. I did want to say, sorry, I didn't want to gulp really loud in your ear because it's absolutely disgusting. So apologies. I was trying to sip quietly. So I used to be an absolute diehard Drea Renee Knits fan, Andrea Mowry. If she released a pattern, I was going to make it. And then the last couple of things I made of hers, I hate to use the word disappointed, but it was almost like the hope and the result I had high hopes and they just didn't end up meshing with the result. And I was trying, I took a really long Andrea Mowry break from her patterns. And I just think sometimes something can look really beautiful in a picture. And, she and I feel like we have a similar aesthetic in the way we dress. We have a similar height and body type. So I'd always think that looks really cute on her. I think it'll look cute on me. But the thing is, something can look cute on you, but it still doesn't feel good to wear. So what I've noticed is for instance, a lot of her sweaters are very fitted in the sleeves or the body or whatever. And even if it looks cute, I don't feel comfortable. For instance, I made her Ginny cardigan. I've worn it here once. It is such a cool cardigan and I love it. However, the combination of the yarn, I used Hedgehog Fibers Tweedy, and the very tight sleeves, it is so itchy. So that was a disappointment. Then I made, what was it called? The Trinigan out of Spin Cycle yarns. And it's a very oversized and loose, but I do not like Spin Cycle. All these things, it's like you can't know these things until you do them. So until I realized I was knitting her things and I realized I really like a lot of ease, not just through the body, but through the sleeves also. I don't like Spin Cycle. I don't like, like some of her cardigans, they don't fit in a way that stays up. They're constantly slipping down. So it was like, there was just so many of these things where I would realize, even if it looked gorgeous in a picture, it wasn't quite fitting and I wasn't wearing those pieces. So I only tell you that to tell you like to share my, history with Andrea Mowry Knits. And I've realized like, maybe I should stick to shawls. And now even that, I knit her plumpy shawl I showed you guys. And that shawl taught me that the shape of shawls, they're not all created equal. Like that is a really long, almost scarf shaped shawl. And that is just not super conducive to how I wear my shawls. Whereas this, it's got more depth. It's, like I need depth. It needs to be more triangular shaped. So you don't know those things until you know. Like I really don't think sometimes we can figure out what we really like to knit and what's going to live up to our expectations until we try, which is kind of a shame, but it's just part of the process. Like I will not be ripping out any of those pieces. I find a way to wear them. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I don't know really why I told you that, but I thought I wonder if other people have had that kind of knitting journey and also I think that's why I do like shawls, is that now I know the shapes I like. And you kind of know that you're going to be happy. You don't have to worry about fit. So shawls and scarves and cowls and stuff like that, they're just such a joy. It's like pure joy once you figure out, what's your ideal shape, I think. And on that note, I do have to share with you guys, one of you, Stephen Whitcomb, a subscriber and a lovely, lovely, talented knitter. He sent me a message after a couple episodes ago with the Girl's Best Friend shawl that I had made by Isabel Kramer. And I was talking to you guys about shapes of shawls and how that one wasn't as big as I'd like. And it was kind of just, you could tell in that video it wasn't sitting great on me. I have super broad shoulders, so if a shawl's not big enough, it'll keep falling off. Anyway, he was so kind. First of all, I'll take another Stephen W. in my life any day because they're the best. But he shared that there is a shape of shawl I had never heard of, and I venture to guess that it might be new to a lot of you, so I wanted to share it. It's called a 3/4 shawl or a 3/4 shawl. So if you imagine a square with like two diagonal lines from corner to corner and you take out one of those triangles, that's the shape of the shawl. So it's 3/4 of a square. So it drapes really nicely and it's bigger and longer. And he so generously sent me pictures, which I will include because it's adorable, and a couple of patterns that follow that shaping, because obviously it's not a super common shape. Oh my gosh, y'all, I totally fell in love with this shape. It was such a gift that Stephen shared it with me. I was so thrilled. Thank you, Stephen, and happy belated birthday. I think Stephen just turned 53, if my memory serves. So happy birthday, Stephen. I hope you had a great one. I hope it was very yarny. Anyway, I'm gonna insert my favorite designer that he introduced me to was, oh, shooty shoot. I think the Nat, something with an R, I'll insert it. But her design shop or whatever is called Wolf and Fawn, I think. And she has a couple of these 3/4 shawls that are just absolutely gorgeous. Go check her out. I really, really am dying to make. One I think is called the Hen's Wife Shawl. It was DK weight and a beautiful lace pattern. Everything she makes is very organic. I believe she lives off the coast of Canada, so on a really small island. Just a really rustic, beautiful aesthetic that I could see myself knitting so much. So check it out. I was so intrigued by this 3/4 or 3/4 shawl. I just, I think that the panels would be long enough to where they really stay and just provide enough cozy warmth that I crave in a shawl. So check it out. There was another one that was a fingering weight shawl that had stripes and a lace border. Very, very, very cozy and cool. I think you'll like it. So let me know if you've ever knit anything of hers, and if you've knit a 3/4 shawl. I'd be curious to know. I'm gonna grab my notes and make sure. Oh, what I was thinking is that striped shawl. What is it called? Oh, here it is. Her name was Nat Raidwolf, and it's Wolf and Fawn Knits. I was correct about that. Anyway, I'm in love with 6 and 7 fibers. I made that girl's best friend shawl out of 6 and 7. And I was on her website, and she has that base that I love. It's called the alfalfa base. And she has it in all these stunning colors, and you can place a custom order. So I was thinking, wouldn't it be the absolutely coziest thing in the world to make one of those 3/4 wolf and fawn shawls and pick the colors from 6 and 7 fiber and have her dye it up. And I think it's like a 3-week turnaround. I just think that would be a dream. So if I have a pause in my knitting life, I might do that. I feel like I have a lot of projects lined up. So it might be a minute, but that is sort of like dreamy to me. On the note of color palettes, I do have to say, I told you guys that, sorry, my brain is getting tired now. I can feel it. And it's like I feel like the gears of my mind are turning slower. So apologies. But a couple of weeks ago, I had mentioned to you that another podcaster, oh my God, it's going to drive me crazy that her name is on the tip of my tongue. She had done a whole podcast about color, inspiration, fiber for the people, wool and hands. Oh my, or white wool, hands and needles podcast. Sorry. She had done a whole podcast about color, and how she finds inspiration for dyeing her yarn. There you go. I finally nailed it. And I finally bought one of those books after trying to figure out which one I wanted to buy. I ordered this one. It's called Palette Perfect. Isn't it just gorgeous? And I have to tell you, I love it. I highly recommend it. So it's broken up into color moods, for instance. This is magical, and it gives you kind of a blurb, and then she gives you just different color palettes. And I just think this would be I'm trying to find a page where there's multiple color, like this. Each mood has different color palettes, and I just think this is such a spectacular reference for being a knitter. I don't know about you guys, but this is almost cheating for me, like this shawl, because I just used the rainbow and I didn't repeat any colors. I had 28 different colors and I used them all. But for instance, say it's October and you're trying to pick Stephen West MCAL colors and he says pick 6 colors. I know that's paralyzing for me. But also I want to start building that muscle of learning how to build color palettes. Like Amy from La Bien-Aimée, the yarn company, is spectacular at color palettes. Obviously, she has a yarn dyeing business, so she's developed an eye for it. But I really want to work at developing my own eye for building color palettes. And I think this will be so helpful. You know, because I love all colors. I love moody colors. I love bright colors. I love pastels. I love neons. And this allows you to kind of break it down. Like there's one section that was, I really thought was dreamy. Oh, y'all, dreamy is singing my song, girl. Look at that. Every single one of these is just spectacular. So for instance, that striped shawl I was telling you by Wolf and Fawn Knits, the 3/4 one, it requires, I think, 4 colors, and there's a stripe section and some solid sections. So you could really use these proportions to help you kind of start thinking about the interplay of the colors and how, I just think when you become more mindful of not just like willy-nilly picking colors, but picking them more mindfully and in the right proportions, then the end product is probably going to be, it's probably going to match your hopes and dreams more, so that you're not disappointed. Do you know what I mean? I think a lot of people at the end of a really color explosion MCAL can feel disappointed. I know one of mine, I felt very disappointed. Now it's grown on me. I love it now, but I just didn't know exactly how to pick colors. And I just think this would be really helpful. I also think if you don't want to spend $25 on this book, I get it. That's like a nice skein of yarn. Go to her website. She has a blog called The Color Collective, Lauren Wager. And her blog had a lot of great inspiration. Just if you want to look around, the Pantone website has great color inspiration. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to share where you get your inspiration, if you've got any favorite books. And when I'm tired and I want to get in bed and I'm too tired to knit, but I still want to like feel color and yarny, I pick up this book and I just flip through it, and I love the little blurbs about color. Like, I think this is such a beautiful, pretty picture, fresh, and this corresponding color palette is so stunning. So anyway, it's just, I really, really am glad I bought this. As someone who's absolutely obsessive about color and yarn and everything, I think this is a really fun book. So either check it out, or maybe it's at your library, or check out the Color Collective blog. That is a really good buy. I also wanted to share with you my daughter's little felting. She made these little mice. How cute are they? If you have a little one in your life, my daughter is 9. She gets a little, I think sometimes we forget, like knitting is extremely, actually quite structured. You have to kind of make a knit stitch in a specific way. This is so much freer and allows a kid to be so much more creative. She's made all these like little family of mice, and she's just loved it so much. I highly recommend, if you have a child or a grandchild, especially because it's summer vacation, it's a really great little fiber hole to dive down. You can do landscapes, you can make all sorts of things. It is an art unto itself. I love, it's so great when they can take a class. She's been doing it on her own, kind of just finding YouTube tutorials and stuff, but finding a class to do it in person is really fun. And I thought it was really sweet because it was all grown-ups and her, and she was great. She did a great job and had a great time. And this store has classes the first Sunday of every month, and she's just all in on that. So I wanted to share another little FO of the family. Also, this, because I know someone will ask, this is a Sophie scarf that I made by Petite Knit. Thank you. I never wear it, but because my hair just had to be up and away from my face today, I thought I would just wrap it around my bun, and it's actually cute. I think it makes you feel more secure, adds a little accessory. I am not a neck accessory gal like the bandanas or all the Sophie scarves everybody's making. I can't pull that off. It just makes, I feel like I'm playing dress up. So anyway, I know it's like the most popular pattern in the world, but I don't think I'll be making another one, but I'm not mad at this one. I have to tell you how excited I am about an acquisition I made. Oh my God, I felt really guilty. Well, did I? No, I'm not gonna say that. Because I've been coveting this yarn for like 7 months. And it's funny because even the lady at the yarn store, she was like, oh, you have to buy this. You've been wanting it forever. Like she remembered that I've been coveting it, and it was 25% off. I shall show you. Remember when I made the very V-neck raglan? I made it out of Noro Kakigori yarn in that beautiful, it was a '01 colorway. It was like a very creamy with yellows and orange and a little bit of purple. Well, my local yarn shop right near walking distance from me, it's called Maverick Fiber Arts. She has a ton of Noro. She literally has this entire cardboard box filled with kakigori and uchiwa, I think that's what it's called, which are very similar. Kakigori is a little bit lighter, like more of a DK, and uchiwa tends towards worsted, but it's a very thick and thin yarn, and I would call it a very light worsted. But anyway, when I saw this colorway 6 months ago, I was just gobsmacked. I literally was like, it took every bit of my self-control not to buy it because it's $50 a ball, but the balls are huge. But yesterday when my daughter wanted some more felting supplies, we went there and it was 25% off. Look at this, y'all. How breathtaking. I mean, I am without speech. A rare occurrence. I literally just, and the way this knits up, like the way my Noro, the very V-neck raglan I made out of the other colorway, the way it knit up was just, I mean, it's my favorite sweater. The fit, it's really oversized. It's really comfortable. It's a cotton silk viscose blend. It's just, it's so unique. I cannot tell you how much I love it. Anyway, this is the colorway. It doesn't say on here, but I looked it up online and there is a name. But of course I didn't write it down. It says color 9. I don't know. But it reminds me of a starry night or a Milky Way. It's like that midnight blue with all the galaxy colors. It makes my heart sing, y'all. I can't stop looking at it. I'm just like, oh, this might be the thing that drags me back into sweater knitting. Okay, so I bought 2 skeins, $25 off, y'all. I just felt so good about that because as much as I love my other Noro sweater, I know this is gonna be the one, y'all. So I'm trying to figure out what sweater I'm gonna knit with it. I have 2 skeins, like I said, which is each skein is I hate to call this a skein, it's really a ball. 200 grams, 500 meters, so 500 plus yards. The thing I really wanted to knit was by Park Williams. She has I forgot what it's called, but it's a sweatshirt. It's easy. I could look it up real quick because I have my iPad right here. It is this really cute sweatshirt design. She's made it, no sweatshirt. Boom. I knew it was something cutesy. It's called the No Sweatshirt by Park Williams. It is a cropped hoodie. She has 2 different hood options. One is pointy, one is rounded, but alas, y'all. I could totally get away with making the extra small, but I would not want to make, I like things bigger, so I would definitely want to make this small, and I wouldn't want to make it cropped. And I think because of the hood, I would have to buy 1 more ball. And she didn't, well, first of all, she didn't have another ball of this. I had to dig through this giant cardboard box. It was a miracle that I even found 2 of them. And I could buy it because on Wool & Co., I raved about Wool & Co., the online yarn shop last week. They actually have this. Same colorway available in stock. But I don't really want to buy a third ball because then I would have a ton left over. And then you know how that is. It's like round and round we go and our stash just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So I'm thinking it's just like what I could do is a lot of times designers they say you need a lot more yarn because they probably want to give you a buffer. They want you to swatch, blah, blah, blah. I know Andrea Mowry does that. I always have so much left over from her yardage recommendations, but I don't remember with Park Williams if she is a really generous, like if she builds in a buffer. So I don't think they would sell out of this, but I don't know. I'm hesitant to do that. The other thing, I just want a really simple bougie sweatshirt vibe with this. So I was thinking I've never knit anything except this Sophie scarf by Petite Knit, and everybody, you know, Petite Knit is such a well-respected designer. I'm, you know, I wouldn't mind trying out her no frill sweater. I've just seen so many people make it and love it. So that's a possibility. I just don't know. I really, really don't know. I love this yarn so much. I want it to just have the perfect project, and I want the yarn to shine. Like the very V-neck raglan that I made, my other Noro, it's so simple. It's all stockinette. It has a simple V-neck, and I love it. It lets the yarn shine. I don't want cables. I don't want lace. I don't want anything. I just want it to be simple. The no sweatshirt is knit in stockinette but turned inside out, so you get a reverse stockinette, all the purl side, which would be interesting. Or the no frill sweater. Tell me if you've made it. I mean, there's like 10,000 projects on Ravelry, literally, so I'm sure a couple of you have made it. Let me know if you like the no frill sweater. Does it live up to its hype? I want an oversized, cozy, perfect sweatshirt. I'm thinking more crew neck than V-neck or boat neck. I really want it to feel like a sweatshirt. So I'll give you one last look at that. Is that not just the coolest thing you've ever seen? I could not resist. God knows I don't need any more yarn, but I couldn't resist. What was I gonna say? I was contemplating, you know, it's the beginning of July. I was contemplating seeing if I could make it through the rest of the year without buying any new yarn. Other than Stephen West's MCAL, like I 100% know I could do it. I have so many like project-sized bundles of yarn are ready to go. We even did an episode about it. We looked at yarn and chatted about it. So I don't know. I'm not one of those people that has yarn guilt because it's my tool to knit. Like I love having all the yarn. Like literally it just brings me so much joy. But I also like really want to use it. And it's like every time I go to a yarn store, I feel like I have new inspiration and want new yarn. So I need to stop going to yarn stores. I think it's hard. We have so many amazing fiber shops around here. Anyway, oh my gosh, I've been talking for 50 minutes. I had so much to tell you today. And if I keep saving stuff for next time, I feel like one of these episodes is going to be jumbo sized. So like Tracy of Grizzly Knits on her last pod, she was like, it's like a feature length film. And sometimes it has to be, but you can watch it in chunks. You can chunk it. You don't have to watch it all in one go. I think that might be all the yarn content I can remember. Like I said, I've got my notes here. Sorry, y'all. I'm like pulling up stuff. Okay, that is all the yarn content I have. So we'll segue into a little life and movies and books and TV. If you're not interested, no worries. Thank you for joining me. If you are, let's talk about it. On the life front, you know, if you watched my last episode, you know I had gotten sick on vacation and fallen and hit my head and had a concussion and my black eyes and a contusion on my head, but it's all healing. The body is strong. You know, I'm trying to get as much rest as I can, but I'm not going to lie. it's hard. It's hard to adjust when you're used to the speed of life that you live at. I think the hardest thing for me is not being able to exercise right now. I'm really trying to slowly introduce it back in like 25 minutes chunks. I just love to exercise so much, and it's just really disheartening when I exercise and then I feel bad afterwards, or it just exhausts me too much, or I'm just so sore because I'm losing strength and stamina. It's just hard. It's, just being able to move your body and live in your body is such a privilege. And we've talked about this before, but it's so easy to just denigrate your body and rip it apart like it's, a painting rather than a paintbrush. And I just, in these moments when you have to stop living and like really become more aware of what your boundaries are, you just realize like what a gift it is to be able to use your body freely. But I'm just trying to live in gratitude and realize fitness is one of those things. We can build it back up anytime. You never lose fitness. It's just like a fluid thing. Sometimes you're in really great shape. Sometimes you have to slow down and you might not be, living as intensely as you want, but I can rebuild. So I'm trying to be patient with myself, and just be grateful that, I'm moving in the right direction. So many of you had similar stories of yourselves or your loved ones, and oh my gosh, my heart broke. One of you said you broke your teeth and have to have root canals, and others of you have cracked your skull. Like, oh, y'all, my husband was like, babe, I'm gonna get you a helmet. So like when you get sick, I'm gonna put this helmet on you. And it's funny, but there's some truth to it. I'm like, I'm terrified now for this. After all your stories about even worse case scenarios, losing consciousness it is a very scary thing, because every time I faint, right before I faint, I think I'm okay. I think I've got it all under control, and then I wake up on the floor. So anyway, it's all good. I'm on the mend. You can see my brain kind of slow down sometimes, but like, I just have to rest a little more. What else? My kids are back from camp. They both had a great time. My son, when I picked him up, and I still had 2 really bad black eyes. When I picked him up, he was just so saddened. And, it's just, I don't know. He turned 14 while he was at camp. So it was so good to have him back and celebrate him and feel his love and care. And he was so saddened to see me hurt. And when your kids start loving you in that caretaking way, it's just so special. It's such a different thing than when they're really little and unable to really, of course they want to caretake, but they don't know how. Like now my son is so aware and so able to be like, no, you need to go rest. You're not doing that. You need to go get in bed, and I've got this or that. It's just lovely to see that side of him, and that responsibility and caretaking side develop. I feel very grateful for that. So yeah, I think that's all I need to say about that. What was I going to say? We're still really enjoying watching suspensey murder mystery kind of things on Netflix and on TV. We're watching The Staircase right now on HBO Max, and it is really good. Colin Firth and Toni Collette, and I even think Juliette Binoche is in it. It's really, really good. It's a true story. It's very disturbing at times, but really, really good. Highly recommend The Staircase. What else? I have started this book called Banyan Moon. It gotten some good reviews, and I did not like it at all. It was one of those books where I didn't love the narration, and then I found myself feeling so irritated every time I listened to it. I felt like all the characters are very whiny, and I just didn't like it at all. I tried to give it a really good chance, but then by the time I realized it was starting to put me in a bad mood every time I listened to it, I was like, that's not what this should be. So I put that aside. So I can't say I recommend Banyan Moon. I had such a good go on books. Remarkably Bright Creatures, and there was another book. What was the other book that I loved? Anyway, right now I can't remember, but I felt like I'd had a really good run of great books. The other book I started today is called No Two Persons. Oh, bless you, Scout. Oh, what happened? My Great Pyrenees is sneezing, and it's so cute. She's just so sweet. Anyway, No Two Persons. I forgot the author, but it's okay so far. It's good. I don't love the narration, but I think this book is from like a lot of different perspectives. It's almost like 10 different narrators, I think. So I think it's about a book and then about how that book affects the lives of different readers. And I think that's probably what the title's referring to, like no two people are affected by the book the same, maybe? I don't know. I'll get back to you. I love the premise of it. So it does sound unique and good. So hopefully it is unique and good. But you know, narrators, if you don't like someone's voice or the way they read, it can really ruin a book. That's one of the double-edged swords about audiobooks, but I will take it because audiobooks are just one of my favorite things on this planet. Audiobooks and knitting together, it's just like a match made in heaven. What else? I don't think I have anything else. I would like to give a shout out to Julia in Switzerland. She sent me the sweetest message on Instagram like a month ago. As you guys know, I am not super Instagrammy. I don't like to post. It's just not my medium. And she had sent me a message in a way in a like area of my Instagram that I didn't even know existed. It wasn't a direct message. It was like in the secret message section. I don't know. What? I don't know. I was like, this can't be. I'm so confused. But anyway, I finally saw this old message she had sent me a month ago, and it was so kind and sweet, and it just filled my heart so much. And I felt so bad that I wasn't able to respond in a timely manner, that I just wanted to send her extra love. So Julia in Switzerland, lots of love to you. Thank you for your message. It meant the world to me. And if any of you ever send me a message somewhere and I don't respond, I am not ignoring you. There's a chance I didn't see it because I am kind of like a caveman. Also, last shout out to Kimberly in Salt Lake City. Kimberly had a rough June, and I just want to send her extra love because she deserves it and needs it. And a big hug to you from me, Kimberly in Salt Lake City. All right, y'all. I think that's all. I think that is plenty of me talking. I am tired, my throat is dry, and I have locked everybody in my family away in different rooms in my house, and it's probably time to let them out. If you're still here after an hour, thank you. That's my favorite hour of the week to get to hang out with you. I hope you have a yarn-filled weekend of lovely weather. I know the weather around the world right now is bonkerballs, so weather stresses me out, seriously. But when it's good, we just have to take it and not worry about tomorrow. If you haven't already, please subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I never remember to say that. It's a miracle that I remember to say that. But anyway, have a lovely day, and I will see you next week. Okay, see you later. Bye.